Welcome back to another episode of the Adventures of a Disney Dad podcast. Matt and Chip are back. It's been a couple weeks. It's been a minute. Chip, glad to be back with you. I was just at Walt Disney World, which explains why we didn't have an episode last week. Chip's going to be getting ready to get on a cruise, and we're going to talk about a little bit of a trip recap from everything that I experienced when I was down, going through meetings with Walt Disney World, checking out the Disney Fantasy, which was incredible, and I made Chip incredibly jealous.
100%.
And we, the big update, I think, Chip, that I want to get right to is I think I might be an after hours guy now.
Oh, we didn't talk about that much, did we?
We didn't. And, so anybody that's listened to this show before, like we have quite a bit of a love-hate relationship. I'm bringing love to the table right now. We previously hated the after hours event that we did at Hollywood Studios. I think that's a pretty fair statement. Right, Chip?
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I agree.
The one that you, Lauren, and I, and Athena, and your wife and your daughter did, it was not a great experience at Hollywood Studios. I was down there, and the first night I arrived, most days that I was down there, I had meetings with Disney, right? Or other obligations for the business. And I was like, you know what? The first day, after hours is available at Magic Kingdom. Why not check it out? So it gave me some time in the parks where I didn't have other obligations and stuff, so I could just kind of hang out and check things out. But also, the one thing that I love, and this is the value that you get out of the Magic Kingdom after hours that you don't at Hollywood Studios, is that you get to see Happily Ever After because you can come in as early as 7 p.m. So you can see Happily Ever After. Then everybody gets kicked out at 10 p.m. for that are not after hours guests. And then at 11, they show Enchantment. And I love Enchantment. Not as much as Happily Ever After, but I love Enchantment. Where does Enchantment fall for you? Do you care for it?
I don't mind it. I mean, it was there for what? Like a year and a half, 2 years? I don't remember.
It was the first one that I saw with my daughter. And so it still kind of hits for me, right?
It's a good show. I've only seen it on YouTube. The music's really good for it. Happily Ever After, it hits home for us. You know how the people are the wishes people. Happily Ever After is the one that we first saw, so that's where we fall. But I do enjoy the music of it. It's got great music.
Yeah, it's a great soundtrack, and I find myself listening to it in my office all the time. But I loved it. So it's $189 before taxes. You get the extra fireworks show, right, and then you get Magic Kingdom. Plus, you get the soda, the ice cream sandwiches, which I think I had 4 of, something embarrassing like that. I'm not a soda drinker, so I don't get a whole lot of value there. But I will tell you, the reason why it's so much better than Hollywood Studios, and we kind of talked about this a little, is that there's so much more to do, right? You could do Tron, you could do Tiana's, you can do Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And I really felt like by the time I was done, which I left there.
You left early.
I left at like 12:45, and it closed at 1. So I didn't leave I left 15 minutes early. And part of that was I just didn't think that I could handle another ride. After Space Mountain, it broke my body. Right? Too old for that ride, man. That ride, it breaks me. But I did Tron, I did Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, I did Tiana's, I did one of the princess meet and greets because they still have Princess Fairy Tale Hall open. Okay. On both sides. I did one of those, like the People Mover, Space Mountain. You can pretty much get it all done, and there's little to no wait for just about anything. I think the longest wait I saw was 30 to 40 minutes for Tron and Mine Train, and that was about it. And so overall, it just impressed me. I think that it's worth the money. It's something that you could do instead of doing a full park day. And I think I'm at the point where I would recommend that event.
I agree with you. You and I texted a little bit. There's only one downfall that I thought of, which was Tiana's wasn't up for yours, right? It wasn't. You got on it before.
Yeah, so that's the big thing. So Tiana's is not available for after hours. So I got on it because you can still enter the park when the park technically it's open to everybody. So I went then first thing when before it ended. At 10 o'clock. So you can ride Tiana's after Happily Ever After until 10 p.m. And I only waited 25 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
But it is a downside that it's not available. I think that's silly.
I think it'll eventually come back. I mean, maybe it's a summer. I don't know. Maybe with the colder weather. I don't know. But the ride, just so many more attractions is 100% the reason why I would definitely consider it for our family. It's one of those things where we might do it specifically just to have a park or have a resort day.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like you can do it instead of getting a park ticket for that day, and so that it reduces the hit to your your vacation budget. And the other hard part is you've got to have kids that are like old enough to be able to handle staying out that late. I think that's the downside, at least for us, because both of us have really young kids.
Yeah.
So that can be harder. Like, are they going to have the energy to actually do all those things? But man, if you've got kids over the age of like 7 or 8, it can be a blast. I think it's
Matt,
a really good option.
Matt, with you guys, you're an hour behind Eastern. How would that affect you guys? Would that be one of those things if you're coming from, I don't know, Central Mountain West Coast? Would you recommend it specifically for those people?
I mean, I think being behind helps, right? Because then it closes at technically midnight your time. But after like the first or second day of a vacation, if you're not doing it on the first or second day,
yeah,
you get adjusted pretty quickly because it's only an hour.
Yeah.
So to me, like I don't think that makes a ton of a difference, but it does. Like it helped me that first night, that's for sure. But beyond that, I think you just adjust too quickly for that to matter too much. If you were coming from California, I think that would be perfect. That 4-hour difference would probably make the jet lag or whatever easier, your adjustment easier. But I thought that was really interesting from a news perspective. 2 things that I want to mention: the Run Disney marathon weekend went on sale today. It sold out. I think all the races sold out within like an hour and a half. One thing that's near and dear to my heart is if you are interested in running any of the races at the Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend, we have an article that tracks all of the charities that have charity slots available. There are great charities that you can run for, and you can still get slots. I think Dopey is a little harder to find slots for with charities, but man, there's a lot of great opportunities out there, so consider that. And the other one that I got a lot of questions about, Chip, and I want to get your thoughts on, is the new nighttime parade coming to Magic Kingdom called Starlight.
Yes.
And everybody wants to know, what time will it be? Will they have 2? What are your guesses as to how they handle that?
So I'm going back 2006, Matt. We'll throw it back to high school graduation year for you. I remember I was with the show choir and we watched, what was that one? What was the one before or the one back then? The electrical parade. Yeah. So
electrical
we watched
pageant, whatever.
Yeah. We watched that and then we watched Wishes. It was the parade first and then Wishes. Now that might have been when they were doing 2 fireworks shows. So I don't remember that for sure, but I do remember that it was directly before the fireworks show. So I wouldn't be shocked if they do it that way again, but I could also see them doing it before and then doing the fireworks and then doing it, I don't know, 2 hours later or an hour and a half later.
That's my guess. That's where I'm leaning, Chip. I think they're going to do one at like 6:15, 6:30, like right when it gets dark or close to sunset. And then they're going to do one post fireworks. That's my guess. And I think that just makes sense. The problem with the timing of it is that Happily Ever After is pretty much set at like 8 or 8:15, 8:30. I think that's when, it kind of varies sometimes. But you can't go that much earlier because it's not dark enough.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to really want that to hit. So like you've got to avoid, and the crowds that line up for Happily Ever After become problematic on Main Street in particular and around the hub. So that's my guess for all those of you that asked. I think Chip's right on there. It's going to be one of those options. I really hope they have 2. I think
I don't remember if they did. I don't remember if they did or not, but I will say this. I wouldn't be shocked if fireworks weren't pushed back to like in the summer. What do they go at 8:15? I wouldn't be shocked if it's pushed back to 8:45 or 9. It would not shock me.
I feel like that would be a pain. You know what I talked about with our buddy Chris? The day that I was doing the after hours event is, so the nighttime show at Animal Kingdom starts at like sunset, like 6:30.
Okay.
Could you hypothetically do
4.
a challenge where you did 5 So, because on an after hours night, you get 2 at Magic Kingdom. So could you do 6:30 at Animal Kingdom, go to Happily Ever After at 8, go to take the monorail to Epcot and see the beginning, or like Symphony of Us, like see it as you walk through to the back to International Gateway, take the Skyliner over to the 9:30 showing of Phantasmic, and get back by 11 for Enchantment.
Yeah, you could. It would be.
That would be a fun challenge to do.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, like I'm probably we're probably the only nerds that would think that that's really cool. But I think doing like a 5 nighttime show challenge would be a lot of fun. So anyway, one of the things that I was commonly asked about also was the crowds. And Chip, you're a summer guy, right? You like going down in the summer.
For sure.
It felt like that to me. It felt like spring break had already started. The crowds were like very much like spring break, and I was not really expecting that. Our spring break starts at, the end of March, beginning of April here. So I was expecting most people would be towards the second half of the month, which is most of my clients too. And I think that there were a lot of colleges that had started spring break, and it was crowded. And I wasn't necessarily expecting that. I rope dropped Hollywood Studios one day, which I thought you'd be proud of me for pulling that off. And when I got in there for early entry, I was like, everybody's going to be going to Slinky Dog Dash and to Rise of the Resistance. I think that's like the common rope drop strategy.
Yeah, it is.
So I was like, I want to go and ride Tower of Terror. I think, Chip, I think outside of after hours, I rode like 3 rides the entire time I was there. So like the only thing I was like, this is my chance. I want to ride Tower of Terror. So I go over to Tower of Terror, and it's the entire Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror. The line is the entire length of Sunset Boulevard.
That's crazy.
And it wrapped back, which was just insane to me. And so I left there, and I was like, well, all these people are here for early entry. Rise of the Resistance must be low. And I waited 20 minutes for Rise of the Resistance. So I think I got like an anomaly where people really wanted to rope drop those other 2 rides. And I don't know why that is necessarily, but Tower of Terror, like that whole weekend was really, really high. I mean, there were points where it was like 280 minutes, and so I never rode it, which was kind of bummed me out. But I was kind of shocked at how crowded it was.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, I've got a bunch of football players at college, so a lot of them were back lifting this past week, and I've got some this week. So college is up here for sure in spring break, but that is kind of crazy for that. I mean, our buddy Max was down there with you at that time, but I would have thought it would have been a little bit less quiet or a little bit more quiet.
What's funny too, Chip, is the biggest thing I tell people about crowds is Disney always feels crowded. Like when you're in the parks, it always feels crowded.
Yeah.
And you don't realize whether or not it's actually crowded until you actually pay attention to what the wait times are, and you see, the way crowds are moving and stuff. But man, I had not felt that way or seen those kind of lines in person in a while. And so it was really surprising to me. I want to talk about 2 of the things. Well, I guess there's three things from the trip that really stuck out to me. And one is going to be your favorite topic. And it was the Disney fantasy.
Yes.
Chip,
dude, you don't understand. What was that, Friday?
Yeah.
I was waiting for updates. Like, I wasn't going to text you for updates. I'd text you a couple times, but I was on your social medias just waiting for a new update. That
ship's gorgeous, man. It is really, really incredible. And it's massive. I'm not a huge fan of how low the ceilings feel to someone that's tall.
Yeah.
I really get like, it made me feel a little like claustrophobic, but my goodness. And we got to go in the Walter E. Disney suite, which I can't even fathom. I've never quoted that for a guest before, and I can't fathom how much it would cost, but my goodness, was it gorgeous. Yeah. And just all of the details on that ship are so well done. It was so impressive to me. And while my family, like, one of the big sells of a Disney cruise ship is the kids clubs.
Yeah.
And the kids only areas. And I just don't know that that's as big of a sell for my family because my oldest would probably love it, but my two younger ones, like, probably not. Like, I think they would want to be by mom and dad. Like, we're not the kind of family that can pull off or would necessarily want to pull off, putting all three kids in the different kids clubs and then going to an adults only lounge.
Yeah, so that's kind of one of our. Obviously, I'm leaving on the Magic here in less than 2 weeks. It's a hot topic in our between me and my wife right now. Is are the kids going to be okay in the kids club? That's the first thing. My oldest will be fine. My son, he's kind of that age. Like, is he really the kids club or does he go to Edge? He's not old enough to be an Edge, so is he that age where he's too old? I don't know. And my younger two being in school, I think will help them a lot. And I think that's kind of the big tell is like, all right, Axel being in school is going to help. And then Lennon, we're going to use the daycare or the
nursery.
Nursery. Yeah.
That was the other thing that was really impressive. They have actual cribs in there. They've got everything set up like a real nursery, almost like you would see in a hospital for the littlest ones.
And they do activities. They do activities with them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So we're going to use it probably once or twice, but it's to go to Palo. I mean, that's the only time we envision us taking Lennon there. But I guess I can report to you in a couple of weeks and let you know if our kids did it or not. And that might help you and your family and potential listeners' families because we're not banking on it.
Helpful.
We're a close family. We're not banking on it. We plan on doing a bunch of the activities, and the pools aren't big, but
they're tiny. Like
they're tiny. They are.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people. But the cool thing is they can spread people out with like the adults only pool and the waiting pools and aqueduct and all these different other water activities that they can spread people out on the ship. I think is helpful. The basketball court, like there's a lot of really, really fun stuff that they've got going on and activities going literally everywhere. The kids clubs were really impressive. There was an Andy's room with all kinds of Toy Story stuff. There was, when I walked in, Thor was in there doing a character meet and greet. They had a Star Wars area that was really impressive. Like there's just a lot of fun stuff going on. They had quizzes and trivia games going on in different rooms. And so there's all kinds of stuff to do all the time, which I thought was really impressive. Overall, like just, I mean, I was just blown away by the whole thing.
Did you eat on the ship?
Yeah. So we ate at the buffet during our tour and stuff. And I mean, it was fine.
Right? Yeah, I didn't know if you were at a restaurant or not. Yeah.
No, we didn't get to do, any of the more impressive dining like Palo or anything like that. But it was good. And it was all you can eat and got to see, the sweet shop, the ice cream parlor and all that kind of fun stuff. But I definitely left there like I want to book a cruise. So, for those of you that were wondering if I'm going to become a cruise guy, like not quite like Chip, I don't anticipate that ever happening. But I absolutely could see myself doing it. The other thing that really blew me away is we got to tour the new Polynesian Island Tower. And I actually had dinner at Wailulu, so we'll talk about that in just a second. But the Island Tower was really impressive to me. Yeah. It doesn't have its own like pool. It has like a splash area, a hot tub, like smaller pool, not like a feature pool like the main building at the Polynesian has. But you can use that one as well. But the Wailulu Bar and Grill, which is a restaurant you can't make ADRs for. You have to do walk-ups. But the Island Tower rooms were like all Moana themed. The entire hotel I thought was gorgeous. The grounds of where you can like lay in the hammocks and watch the fireworks, and they've got chairs. Just like all of it was beautiful and well done. I'm a huge fan of that resort, and a lot of people don't like it because it's more sterile. It's like minimalist Disney, but that's what I appreciate. Like the little subtle touches of Moana throughout the rooms and the lobby, I thought was really, really great.
It's crazy you talked about it because we haven't talked about this at all. Last night, Kelly and I watched a 2-bedroom villa of the Poly Tower, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I want to stay there." And then she's like, "They're like, well, we're going through the video on YouTube," and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you see the nods to Moana's grandma and all of that." She's like, "I would change the color of this," but she literally said, "Chip, if we stay there, I don't want to go to the park."
Yeah, it's gorgeous. The one downside to me is like some of the rooms are really, really small. Like they have a duo studio that literally does not have a bed that's down. It's only a Murphy pull-out bed and a
Yeah.
couch. So like, and only two adults can stay there. So you can't even stay there with more than two people. It's 290 square feet. It felt like being in a cruise ship room. And for the price that you're paying, like I feel like that would be a rough room to stay in general. But
Yeah.
overall, like I just thought that new area was really, really well done. And you can get away from what I found is that you get away from the crowds of being at the main building of the Polynesian. Like you don't get as many of the people coming in on the monorail just to walk around the Poly because they're not going over to the tower. However, Wailulu was interesting. So you can't make ADRs there. I don't know if I mentioned that already. You cannot make ADRs. You have to walk up for either the bar or the restaurant. There was one time where I walked up and the entire place was completely empty, like just after lunch. And then when you start to get closer to dinner and the fireworks, it's packed. It's 1 hour, 2 hour waits, right?
Wow.
So I sat at the bar and somebody I had seen that was an influencer on social media said that the Wailulu burger, I think it's called the Wayfinder, is the best burger on property. And so I went there specifically trying to find out because you know how I feel about the Steakhouse 71 burger.
For sure. Yeah.
And so it was my checkout day. My flight was delayed and I went there for dinner. And I also got the wings, which I would not get again. They were okay, but they had a lot of soy sauce taste to them.
Yeah.
Not much barbecue sauce taste to them, which is just not my style. But they were cooked well and they were fine. But the Wayfinder burger chip is not anywhere close to Steakhouse 71. It's not even in the same stratosphere. And I had people when I posted that on social media that wanted to argue with me about it. So there are people that really think that's the best burger at Disney property, but I would not even put it in. It's probably not even in the top. It's definitely not in the top three. For me, it would be Steakhouse 71, Geyser Point, and then Deluxe at Disney Springs. So I don't think that it definitely would not crack those three.
Yeah,
But
that's crazy.
how far down it goes, I don't know. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, the food looks good. Like they've got some good things that I would order, and I know one of the big things that people are doing is a lot of people are doing to-go orders and getting it and going and sitting on the beach or doing something like that. So,
And the bar was great. Like the service was fantastic. They've got a lot of drafts on tap and different drinks that are available. A lot of great beers, a lot of Hawaiian stuff. So I thought that everything about it was perfect. It's just not like, and I would eat there again 100%. It just like if I'm going for a burger, I'm not going there. I'm going to Steakhouse 71. Is my
sure. I get it.
so
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. But overall, man, it was a great trip. We had a lot of fun. The Magic for Less Travel. I appreciate everybody that was down there that we got to meet. We've got some agents that listened to the show, which I thought was a lot of fun, and we really appreciate that. It means a lot to Chip and I. We've been doing this for quite a while now, which is crazy.
Yeah, it'll be 2 years of summer, right? We'll be coming up.
Yeah,
I do got another question for you. You did see you saw all the fireworks shows, right?
Yeah. Yes. I saw all of them. Yes.
What do you think of Epcot? Because I know you hadn't really seen it.
It doesn't do it for me. Symphony of Us does not do it for me. That's the other thing. And maybe we'll do this on next week's episode. We really didn't talk much about Flower and Garden, which is my favorite festival.
Yeah.
And I thought that it's just so well done every year that it's a must if you're going down there and it's available. But Symphony of Us, man, it doesn't hit for me. Like the music, it's a really impressive like fireworks show, but it's not the kind of music or song or soundtrack, whatever you'd want to describe it as, that like gets you in the feels about being there with your kids at Disney, which I think is what Fantasmic and Happily Ever After do.
The Toy Story part's the only part that I'm like, I really enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah.
The other stuff I didn't really care, but thinking about next week, talking about Flower and Garden, remind me, I got a Smucker story to tell you because I know you touched down on the Uncrustables.
Oh, you throw a free Uncrustable my way, I'm smashing it. So next week we'll talk about Flower and Garden and do a little bit of recap there. Again, we appreciate everybody that listens to the show. If you could like, rate, and review, it would mean a lot to us. And as always, if you are looking to have me plan your Disney vacation or your Universal vacation, your Disney cruise, my services are completely free to you, absolutely no cost. A link to get a quote is going to be in the show notes. every listener that reaches out to you, reaches out for a quote, it means a lot to us. So I love working with you guys to plan your vacations. And there's several of you booking Disney cruises right now, which we love and very much appreciate. So thank you again. And we will see you in the parks, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah. We'll see you when we see you.
Absolutely. Chip, remind me, buddy, we got to get